Hi, and welcome to the next episode of Social Buzz e-learning with me, Ambuj Saxena, your friend, philosopher guide in your journey to unlock the best digital marketing secrets across the world. Digital marketing in Canada versus digital marketing in India are two different ball games, and it's not easy to dabble between the two. But today, we have someone special with us who can help you unlock your branding, digital marketing journey in Canada as easily as you can do in India. We have an interesting guest with us, Ms Gneev Nagi, who is an 2014 NIFT Alumnus. Gneev is an experienced marketing professional with a focus on building brand equity for large corporations and homegrown organizations. She has the ability to find stories in culture, people, places, and ties her understanding of trends in making brands sound more humane. Enif is skilled in digital marketing, content, communications, and social media management. She excels in teamwork and taking initiative in cultivating business relationships. In short, Genevieve is people's person and has excellent interpersonal skills. In her career as a marketer, she has supported the creation of digital marketing strategies for over 15 brands in the B2B or B2C space. Curating unique campaigns for each brand has been the key towards achieving a successful output for target audiences located in the EU and North America. Guinness strongly believes in data and has always promoted data-driven metrics that enable efficient decision making, which has been pivotal in her growth as a marketer. Recently, Guinness has moved to Canada and she's finding time to do what she loves to do, get fit, and pursue her passion for arts and culture. A warm welcome to you, Guinness. How are you feeling?
Hi, Ambuj. Thank you for that comprehensive and brilliant introduction. Really happy to be here. I'm glad we could find a time to do this, and looking forward to sharing some of my thoughts with you.
Sure, Guinevere, it will be a pleasure to listen to you. So, Guinevere, briefly tell us what was your experience as a brand manager post masters from NIFT.
Okay, I graduated. I have several different backgrounds. I did my graduation in history from Delhi University, and then I moved on to doing something that I was always passionate about, design, and I ended up doing that from NIFT. I graduated in 2014. I had no plans of being a marketer. I don't think anybody wakes up in their life and says that, I want to be a marketer today. That's never on the agenda. But I moved on and just went with the flow. I knew that communication skills were something that was always a plus. I honed that by entering into mainline advertising in 2014, right after I graduated. And while I knew very little about digital marketing back then, I started an entry level job, but my skill was more aesthetic and design, and that's what I brought to the company. Um, Very quickly, I learned the skills of digital marketing back then. Of course, this is like 7 years ago. So we had only Facebook, Instagram was just coming up, and just a few other digital assets. So I was supporting some of my peers in setting up the digital wing in that mainline advertising firm. And as I picked up the skills, I decided it was time for me to move on. And from there on, I started working in another digital marketing firm, which was the country's best. That was a huge learning graph because the clients that I was working in for mainline advertising was very different from this new space that I was in. I was coming from design. I wouldn't have expected myself to work for any other client other than fashion and art. But I ended up working for FMCG clients, and I ended up working for some of the Amazons of the world. So it was a huge learning graph for me, and I think as I just kept going on, I kept picking up from my team, from the people, from my peers, and it just sort of shaped my career. I didn't have a set plan that this is what I want to do. I think I just kept going on. A year into working in the digital firm, I was fairly confident, and I thought I'd fairly picked up everything that I wanted to in the digital space, and I wanted to work for clients that were more in my domain. So I moved out and started working as a freelance contractor, and then picked on clients in fashion, lifestyle, retail, so on and so forth. And it had been about 4 years doing just that, with multiple collaborations with different people across the board. I was successful in creating successful campaigns for them, I believe. So yeah, that's what it was.
I've worked with Gneev for a long time, and I can vouch for the fact that she's a people's person. So, Gneev, having known more about your journey from the top, from the bottom to the upper part of running your own business, which is like the most challenging part, or what was the most challenging phase of your marketing journey in India?
Uh, I believe the most challenging was just to be an expert on everything digital. Coming from a background which was not so digital, it was design. Design was always my first. And I think as I went along in managing project, in recommending strategies to clients, I felt like I needed to work harder on understanding the digital space. By that means, I meant specific tools or strategies that would help the brand in leveraging from point A to point D. So that was my probably biggest challenge. And of course, the other challenge in the field was also finding the right kind of collaborators for working on different projects. That was because there were times when I couldn't find the right kind of synergy with different people. Like you said, like I found people like yourself that I could work with. You know, you would handle certain parts of the business, I would handle certain parts of the business. So I think also finding the right kind of people was challenging, but I guess it was a hit and miss. And somewhere in like 4 years down the line, I realized that these are the kind of people who I definitely can work with. These are the kind of people who, you know, maybe it's not working so well. And I believe every day was a learning experience. And I just had to step up every day and make sure that I was up and understanding everything that was going on in the digital industry and making sure that I know what's going on in the different facets so I could recommend those to the clients.
Wonderful,
So
wonderful.
that's
I
what.
think that's how the entire ecosystem works, and that's how we all grow together. We all work together, we all learn together, we all stumble together, and we all grow together. So I think your collaborations, the ecosystem that you built in India, was a prime example of all that. And I'm a testimony for all that. So yes, that has.
Absolutely.
So, Gneev, how are you finding it in Canada? And which part of Canada are you in? And how are the job opportunities in Canada? If there are some people who are looking out for the PR in Canada, they would really benefit from your answers. How are you finding it, Canada?
Well, Canada's absolutely livable. It's one place that I feel like there's a spot for everybody. Not to say that you have to be in marketing or you have to be in finance or so on and so forth. There is something for everybody. It's absolutely multicultural, very, very diverse. I love being here. There's several projects that I've done till now and working with different teams. It's been exciting. I live in downtown Toronto at the moment, and uh, everything's a work from home situation at this point. I landed here right at the onset of the pandemic, and my job hunt was not very successful at that point because everything was in a complete lockdown. My initial, of course, I didn't come with a plan. My initial plan was to, start from scratch, start building connections, start going for networking events. But everything was just on a stop because of COVID. And that gave me a little bit of a setback. So, which was also good in a way because I got the time to actually focus on things that I wanted to do. So I pulled out some of my passion projects and started working on those, some of the hobbies that I wanted. So I think there was this phase in the beginning of March 2019 where everybody was a little bit confused, and this was the first time everybody was stuck at home. So everybody was just doing like different things, from, you know, cooking to art to so on and so forth. So I guess like I used that time in doing all those several things. And then, of course, you have to start working as well. You know, there was a point where I was like, okay, cannot do this for long, have to get on to work. I have always had a passion for philanthropic work. I have always done that back in India. I teach some underprivileged kids back in India for their 10th boards. So certain things about philanthropy has always been close to my heart. And I think I just started seeking that to begin with, because I knew that the Canadian landscape was very different. Me coming from India, I'm sure, you know, there were several things that I would have had to do or gain some experience to actually enter into a job. So in order to put my foot in the door, I started looking out for more philanthropic work. And I guess I got lucky to find two different items. I started working with a non-for-profit for children here. It works in the space of including diversity and inclusion just for children in the form of books and toys. And that experience has been great. I've got to work with amazing, amazing women. It was a team of just women, surprisingly. But got to learn a lot every day. Working for a cause was something that was close to me. And the second was I applied for social entrepreneurship for an organization here. It's called the Center of Social Innovation. And they were doing a project with the city of Toronto to address the public sanitation facility problem for homeless people. As we know, COVID was hard for everybody, and it was harder for homeless people. And the city was seeing more and more homeless people out there, and they weren't having basic sanitation facilities. So I applied for that project, and I got the chance to be a part of it. Again, super great learning. I think I was probably the newbie in the whole situation, because there were entrepreneurs who were, you know, already in the landscape, already, you know, had everything in place. So that was great learning. I think what I was bringing onto the table was the digital marketing side of things, the amplification side of things, the PR side of things, how things should be moving, how branding should be done, so on and so forth. So I guess with these two opportunities, and with just honing some of my skills and stepping up and revving up and speaking to different people, I understood the kind of tools that you know, businesses would appreciate here, and I started working towards getting those on my resume.
Which tools were they?
There were some marketing automation tools, different kinds, like Pardo, HubSpot. I mean, I worked on these before, but they have been really, really helpful in you know, understanding how things work here. Back in India, I think most things have been fairly, I would say, like, we do only about 10% of what marketing is capable of doing, and the tools that we have today, if we really want to dig deep. And I really wanted to take on those tools for some of my clients, and I managed to do that as well, but I couldn't holistically. But here I know that some of the businesses just rely on those tools to get their work done. It's especially with a work from home situation, you can't really, you know, do manual work. You can't really depend on, for email marketing, you can't just depend on, you know, one simplified tool. You need something like an automation tool to, you know, really get yourself heard, or your brand to be out there. Right. So things like that. I also started understanding like different facets.
So Gneev, when we talk about job opportunities, I think you did explore a bit of entrepreneurship. You did explore a bit of philanthropy, and finally, I think you are working in a domain that is totally different from what you were working for in India, right?
Absolutely.
So, would you like to shed some light on what you are doing right now in the field of brand management? Which sector you're working for right now? and how difficult is it for you to adapt to the changing scenario?
Absolutely. So yeah, coming from a fashion art, retail, FMCG, everything, I landed up in healthcare.
Oh my God.
Although healthcare is the biggest right now in the world,
Yeah.
clearly because of the pandemic. And when I got the opportunity, I think I was nervous because I was like, okay, I think I may not understand the domain,
Yeah.
but it was challenging and I'm always up for a challenge. So I agreed to it. And the journey since then, and of course, I had to just take care of the marketing side of things. But even to understand the marketing side of things, you have to understand your audience. You have to understand the
Yeah.
messaging of the different, brands that you're promoting, or the different, companies, so on and so forth. Sorry. Um, so I I started with that, and it was in the beginning, my peers and my management were absolutely, understanding of the fact that I was a complete newbie in this industry. And I was given all the time to do my research. And every day has been a learning experience, actually. So it's been great, but I also feel like every day when I get to work, I feel like I'm doing meaningful work rather than
Yeah.
promoting or marketing something that maybe isn't giving people so much meaning. So when I am working towards promoting different nuances of healthcare or working in the sector, I feel like I'm helping people in some way, or I have that job satisfaction. So yes, it's been a challenge. It continues to be one, but I have had the immense pleasure of working with a really, really supportive team. And my peers are amazing. They make sure that if I have questions and if I bombard them with questions, they don't take it like, you've got to know this. They
Yeah.
make sure that, I'm being well understood, and everything's been taken care of, and making sure that I get the trainings that I need. So it's been great that way, and I'm glad that they saw that in me, and I'm glad that they've given me this opportunity. I'm glad that they have so much trust in me. So it's been good. I can't complain.
Wonderful, wonderful to hear that you have a supportive peer environment over here, and it's never easy for somebody who's come from some other region, even though they might be in the same domain as marketing, but still, uh, in marketing, the best thing is that no marketing strategy fits every client, no marketing strategy
Absolutely.
fits every company. I think that's the beauty
Absolutely.
of marketing, and when you change landscapes, when you change geographies, the transition becomes only harder. And if you
Right.
have a structure which you are fortunate to find, and even I would say that they're also fortunate to have you in their team, because I know that you're very hardworking. Once you understand the things, you will not let go of the targets, and you will be able to fulfill them all. So yes, they have trust in you, and that's the beauty of it. But a while back, Giri, you mentioned that in Canada, you saw that one cannot survive without the usage of some tools, right? In India, there's a lot of manual work that goes into marketing side. So when we compare Indian business houses with Canadian business houses, whether you are in the fashion or retail segment in India or whether you're in the healthcare segment in Canada, what is the difference in the mindset you find when it comes to marketing and specifically when it comes to digital marketing?
Uh, I would say it's really early for me to say this, but since I've worked with certain homegrown organizations back in India, and I work with one as well right now, I can say the biggest difference is the structure and the organizational processes. Having said that, it's the way the systems have been built internally with a lot of thought, and keeping each resource in mind, keeping their time, energy, and their value in the organization in mind, which helps them leverage the company's output. So typically, I believe that is key for success. It's not so much on tools. Of course, tools are secondary, but yeah, heavily the Canadian landscape is dependent on tools. Like in India, we would just walk up to someone's desk and be like, even if it's the client brief or debriefing, we would just, walk up to someone and be like, hey, this is a debrief from a client, and, we need to work on this. And like in a 15-minute debriefing session, you'll, sort of share that brief. I guess what differentiates a homegrown organization in India to somewhere here in Canada is the internal processes that everybody has. And even more so now with COVID, everybody is making sure there is a process to everything because there's no one-on-one happening anymore. You can't walk up to someone's desk and tell them, hey, this is what I want. Can you just spend 2 minutes in, making this design and giving it back to me, or doing this copy and giving it back to me? So that's never the case. I believe it's very structured here, even if it's a homegrown organization. I think that's one thing that Indian businesses could really look out for as an independent contractor and marketer. The biggest challenge that I've faced while I was working with some of the companies back in India was there were no processes. I had to build some of the processes for myself to make things flow in a certain way. I had to work with cross-functional teams. I had to manage vendor partnerships. So there was no process. There was just like me with the management. I would present a strategy, and then everything would just fall on my back and coming up with a structure for the madness. So even though we would want quick results back in India, we fail to understand that there's resource, time, value, energy going in everything. And I think if you start respecting that, if you start understanding that post 6 p.m. people have a life, or this is the work hour, these are the number of hours that the vendor is willing to give for this project, so on and so forth, I think it becomes a lot easier. And as I was working with some organizations back then, these were some of the filters that I kept while I was working internally or with vendors. So I think that was my biggest challenge, to come up with a structure in the chaos. And as I'm here, it's definitely more simplified because the processes are in place. So I don't really have to take care of the hygiene levels. I have to think on more like strategy levels. So I think that would be the difference. I think the difference is the work-life balance. If I were to say on a very personal level, that businesses like that work offers you over here vis-a-vis in India, I feel it's a little bit tough to manage your life with work, but it's definitely manageable here. And that's what I appreciate. It's not a given that I have to, I mean, I remember I used to put a stop for work because I was like, okay, this is 5 p.m. and we're not working before, after that. But yeah, here it's taken for granted. So that's one thing that's appreciative, and that's mainly the biggest difference. And I feel that's also leads to success. Like if your resource is happy with you, you'll definitely bound to get more successful.
In fact, I feel that in today's scenario, and especially the field that we are in, where creativity rules the roost, you have to be happy when you work. If you're unhappy with
Absolutely.
it shows, it totally shows.
Absolutely. Job satisfaction is so key to your success, to your company's success. And I think it's not fair to either way, either parties, if you're just doing it for the heck of it. You need to be passionate about it. You need to feel driven for work.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what actually also happens when we all work to hire the best talent in the industry. That's the first thing that you want: willingness and a bit of, yes, as you said, that the work timings are not so set in India, and it's more about it's more on the front that if there's work, you got to work, no matter what the time. But yes,
Absolutely.
that differs when we go to other geographies and things like that. So, Yaniv, I'll just leave you with the last question. So, we all know that attaining a PR in Canada is relatively easy right now, and many people who are in the mid-level executive positions in their companies are swiftly planning their migration to Canada. However, you are the one who has done it already. So, what is that one single tip you would wish to give to those in the field of advertising and marketing in India, and those who are planning to migrate to Canada for better job opportunities? That one tip that defines it all.
I believe it would be to just be more aware. I feel like awareness is so important. And I wouldn't say by being on Instagram, you're aware, you're understanding. To have connections, okay, the first thing I would say is to rev up your LinkedIn, because that's the only platform that would be recognized for your professional, from a professional standpoint over here, and start building your network and start uh, understanding how work really happens in Canada, or how businesses really take shape, or what is it that is required out of you here, or what is it that you could develop over here as you come. I'm sure some of your skills will be evolved as you come here. It's definitely not going to be a copy paste of what you did back in Canada, back in India, but just to understand what is that one domain that you'd like to work for, and where can you really step up. And I think that only comes with networking, that only comes with polishing your resume, putting it out there, and making sure that you're constantly in touch with people who are right here right now. And I believe as you're doing your migration process, your immigration process, you should also start looking out for opportunities, start looking out for the kind of companies that you want to work for. A simple Google search will give you all the results that you want.
Yeah.
And start maybe conversations with them. I know that people are absolutely responsive on emails over here. So if there's any question you have, if there's a meeting that you want to set up with anybody for any questions, I know that I've done for a few people back in India. I know that I get people asking me all the time what, why am I doing what I'm doing right now, and I'm absolutely happy to help them in whatever way I can, because I got all the help that I wanted when I was here. I reached out to people. So I think as you're doing your immigration process, one gets blindsided by, okay, let's just get the PR and we'll be done with it. But then there's a whole new side where you'll just come here, and there's a whole new challenge of you actually finding a space, and that's going to be bigger. So if you can do both things simultaneously, that would be great.
So yeah, so getting the PR for Canada is just the first step, and it's not the easiest of ones, but yes, one of the first steps you have to take in order to have a career in Canada. But in order to have a good, prosperous, and successful career in Canada, you gotta pay heed to what Gneev is saying. You have to start with your polishing with your LinkedIn profile. You have to ask around, create awareness about yourself, grow a little bit more, develop a few more skills, and that would equip you with the best skills to work in Canada. So wonderful session with you, Gneev. It was wonderful talking to you. I'm sure that many Indian business owners, Indian mid-level executives will really appreciate your thoughts, and they would also be able to plan their lives, not just professional but also personal lives, by paying heed to your advice, your words of wisdom, and your experience. Thank you so much for sparing time, Gneev, and this is wonderful interacting with you.
Thank you so much, Ambuj. I'm so glad we could finally get the time to do this. And I'm so happy that I'm not sure I'm wise, but I'm sure the little experience that I've had so far, I hope people can gain from it. And very happy to have this interactive session with you today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Gneev. With that, we close this session of Social e-learning. Please stay tuned for many more episodes to come on various topics that would intrigue you and your loved ones. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambuj.
Yeah. Bye-bye, Gneev. Thank you.